as many of you know, I have many controversial guests, so that comes at a cost of being demonetized everywhere. So if you want to support the program, go to fightbackpodcast.com, and I have all kinds of merch on there, whether it's jiu-jitsu, fighting, political, and other accessories. And thanks for the support. Tarrio.
Yeah.
I'm here with Enrique Tarrio, who was just pardoned by Trump for the January 6th. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. They gave you 22 years in jail. Now, I don't know the details of your case. We'll get into that. I thought I could look it up, but it'd make more sense to tell you. But first off, I was told you're a white supremacist. Is that true?
Jesus Christ. If I hear one more fucking identity politic thing from the fucking left, I mean, it's wild. I'm a supremacist, American supremacist, nationalist, shit like that. But white is one thing I am. Well, actually, I am. The name Tarrio comes from a city in Spain, and then somewhere down the line somebody mixed it up, and then that's how most Cubans are, because of the native population, the slave population, and the Spaniards.
Yeah, it's all mixed up. You were called a white supremacist, right? I think I read that somewhere.
Shit,
that's not making you up somewhere else. I'm like,
you didn't read it somewhere. You probably read it everywhere. Yeah, I think they've slowed down.
I think I did, because I'm almost certain I saw you called a white supremacist. Yeah. I don't know the details of your case. I just remember reading 22 years and you weren't there. I'm
the only one that wasn't there.
It's just disgusting and so wrong. It just makes me so angry because I can't imagine what you feel. Well, actually, I just saw a video. You went and confronted some of these guys. Good for you, man. They're just evil people. They need to be called out, and more than called out. But
yeah, no, and the left was like, oh my God, look at how horrible he assaulted this cop. Dude, I had my hands in my pockets. The least I can do is do what I did in the video, right? Because one of these fuckers sat at my trial at sentencing. My mom was there, like, devastated, right? Because they just gave me 22 years. And this guy's like sitting right close to my mom, and he audibly chuckles and laughs when they give me the 22 years. So, that's the least I can do to him. I'm not going to do anything else, obviously, but
you don't want to go back to prison.
Like I'm a law abiding citizen, and what they accuse me of, as cool as it sounds, the mastermind of the whole Capitol, it sounds cool as shit.
You didn't try to overthrow the government?
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. We overthrew the government on November 5th.
Yeah. No, back to the 22 years. I just think they literally wanted to take your entire life. If they take 22 years from you, you're not going to be able to reset your life after that. They want to just take your life and ruin it. Just the pure evil of that. I couldn't imagine doing that to someone I disagreed with politically, like the prosecutors, the DA, the judges, the jury. It's like, how do they find so many evil people?
Well, if you have an administration like the one that we just had, and not to say, like, in the Trump administration, there was a lot of mistakes on, like, appointments and stuff like that. Also, he's never been a politician.
Yeah.
But the Biden administration, just like they accelerated into the future. You know what I'm saying? And that is a look. I'm pretty black-pilled when it comes to some of the show. That is a look into the future of what America will be if it continues going down the path that it's going on right now. So, that is exactly what that's exactly what we're gonna see. It's awesome to see, though, that when I got out, it's like this weird fucking multiverse that I've walked into. That, like, the entire culture's changed.
Culture has shifted a lot in the last couple of years. Like, Trump's popular now. Like, I mean, we liked him for a while, but you couldn't. It was like so controversial. Now it's not. Like, everyone's saying, like, there's a massive culture shift. Like, a big thing. I was one of the early people calling out the trans stuff. I think you might have been too. It was actually insanely controversial at the time. Now everyone always knew it was insane, but they used to act like it wasn't.
Oh, did you see him thrash just like an hour ago? Thrash Zelensky out of the White House. I mean, that was so great, dude.
That was so great, And you must just be ecstatic with great feelings towards Trump. Like, he really gave you right back,
I think it goes beyond ecstatic, right? So, like, I like to putting things into compartments, right? And I like like putting my priorities into compartments too. Like first is my God, right? I'm a Christian, Christ first. Second is my family, right? My awesome warrior mother, um, and my wife. And then third is my bros and my tribe, right? Like after he did what he did, because as you said, like 22 years is a life sentence, right?
Yeah, they
That's like
took your
you're
entire
trying
life
to
away.
take your life. So he literally gave me my life back. He saved me from hell, right? So I put him now in that family category, right? He I don't I'm when it comes to Trump, I don't see things objectively anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
No, exactly. I wouldn't be able to if I was you either. I see him objectively, but
Yeah.
for you, there's no way I could. I'm not gonna be critical of Trump at all this show. I mean, overall, I think he's good. But like, clearly, he just gave you his life back. That's amazing. You should have that gratitude towards him. I wasn't sure if he was gonna actually pardon all you guys. I was worried he wasn't from the pressure. People were saying don't pardon guys like you, and there was a couple others, and he went and just did a blanket, like on the first day, right? Just instantly.
Yeah, it no, and not only instantly, before this, he said, "I'm gonna pardon them in the first 9 minutes." So something that he did, he's a showman, right?
Yeah.
He's a showman. So when he got a not officially, he became the president at
Yeah.
noon, right? And then he had like a speech that he had to do at 5 p.m., which is where he was gonna do all the signings for the executive orders and the pardons and stuff like that. That was really, besides the executive orders, that was all for show. The pardons were already signed at 1:30 p.m., right? And I'm sure that there was a process behind it. At 1:30 p.m., the Bureau of Prisons had already received the pardons and the orders to release. So I think it did take him 9 minutes from the moment that he walked out of that rotunda, um, which is pretty fucking poetic that they inaugurated him inside the rotunda, you know?
Yeah. I was shocked to see you guys walking out so quick. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm critical of Trump sometimes, but that was just like amazing. To me, people deserve to be criticized when they do something bad and praise you for being good. In your case, I would never criticize that man again. He gave you your life back.
Yeah, and obviously I'm objective of how other people feel about it at this point,
Yeah,
but like since he gave my life back, the only thing that will make me like turn on him is if he puts me back in prison.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't see that happening. That's extremely unlikely, but like right now I don't care what he does.
yeah.
I don't give a shit.
I have people that have like helped me big in life, but maybe they've done some things I don't like afterwards. But I'll always stay behind them because they've majorly helped me in some way. And this is the biggest possible help. I mean, you said your wife too. They literally just, oh man,
Yeah. And what pisses me off and the most is like, I spent 3 years in there. Some people spent
oh wow,
more. A lot of people
that's
spent
a long
4
time
years.
still.
My other 4 brothers spent 4 years in there.
Yeah,
Um, you know, one gets adapted. The nefarious thing about it is how easily one gets adapted to being in prison, right? That's life. You wake up in the morning, it smells like shit, right? There's dudes that don't fucking shower. You're stuck in a little cell. Your cellie has to crap right next to you, and you're like, you know
disgusting.
what? This is life. The people that suffered more than I did was my family, right? So like the people that did that to them, they need to pay,
No,
right?
I'm glad you mentioned the family because people don't think that when they take people away. People have like kids and that. I saw one video guy's getting handed his little daughter. He comes out, man. They took fathers away from their children. It's just pure evil. I was enraged by the January 6th, and I never, from the very beginning, and a lot of these bullshit conservative influencers in the beginning, they didn't back you guys up. They act like it was the biggest deal. They only switched and became popular. From the very beginning, I was like, this January 6th thing wasn't a big deal. No one should be in jail. That was the largest FBI investigation of all time. It was just
Yeah.
absolutely a witch hunt. So
Yeah.
it's great that you guys are out.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. You mentioned like conservative influencers, right? Like a lot of them didn't. A lot of them did the opposite. They were throwing us under the bus.
No, they were. I was disgusted by that.
I calculate my retribution on those people too. I recently, about like 2 weeks ago, I got on a podcast, and I had agreed to it. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll jump on the podcast, and I always do a little bit of homework on like who I'm going to go on their show, and then I looked them up, and I saw what they were saying about my guys.
Mhm.
And they were completely like thrashing my dudes, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do this podcast again. Yeah, like actually, I text him and I'm like, hey, is this live? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, perfect. So what I did is I just got on there and I thrashed them
Good.
for that, because that's what they deserve, right? They deserve to be exposed. Because now that now it's cool because now the president pardoned us, and now you want the clout that comes with the people that got pardoned, right? With all the other J6ers. So
It became the popular thing to start saying release you guys. Even actually, I don't want to be too critical. My friend Joe Rogan, for a while, he was acting like January 6th was the biggest deal. And then he switched to his not. And so many conservatives even did that. And it was like people, you guys had watched the cities burn for months after the BLM. So people were enraged and they were used to seeing riots. They were rightfully enraged. And there was, well, you weren't even there, but the people that were there, a riot broke out that wasn't even that out of control. Some of the guys were walked in and they acted like it was the biggest thing ever. And they take people's lives away, like sentences like yours. Even anyone going for a couple years is a big deal. I was in jail for a couple of weeks and it was terrible. That made me become a better person. I'm like, jail is not for me.
yeah, I don't, and I always say this, like, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been arrested multiple times. The first time actually I got arrested was in '99 during the Elian riots. The cops threw tear gas my way and I threw it back. I was being a little shit. So I got my ass beat by City of Miami police and I probably deserved it. I was 14 years old. And those experiences changed me and they did make me a better person. So, but I can't tell you, like, I came out a better person after 3 years because I was already a good person.
Yeah, and you were wrongly thrown in jail. You didn't do any crime. Interesting. I was almost there. I was flying. I had done some business in Morocco and I was flying back and I happened to have a layover in DC. And I was thinking about, oh, maybe I'll get off the protest, but I was just off the traveling. And thankfully I went back. I could have easily gotten caught up and been in jail with you guys, just walked in the building. And next thing you know, like, oh, this is like a famous fighter, been critical. Let's give him 20 years in jail. He doesn't like trans people.
Yeah. Yeah. And thankfully you didn't show up because, well, even if you didn't show up, they probably, with me, they were trying to set the bar lower, right? Because they knew the next step was the president, right? Obviously, he wasn't there. He was planning on speaking there, right? And I think things would have been different if Secret Service did allow him to go over there, because I think he would have been speaking and people wouldn't have gone into the Capitol. But with me, they set the bar so low that they could have gotten anybody that was talking shit about. Like, I celebrated it that day.
I was sending out tweets making fun of it too, laughing, saying how awesome it was. And I don't regret that. I still feel the same way.
Oh, so you're a little seditionist like me too.
I better not say that. I might get arrested. Oh wait, no trouble. Pardon me. No, like I don't understand what your charges were. Could you like walk me through real quick? Like it made no sense to me.
So I got charged with one of the most serious crimes that you could be charged with in the U.S. Right? I got charged with.
Could you be executed for that potentially?
No, it is one step under the execution. So it's one step under treason, actually.
Yeah.
And you get a life sentence for treason. And sedition, it's a funny charge because sedition is a very old charge that goes back all the way to the 1400s. Like, I'm not going to nerd out on history or anything, but they used it as a way to imprison political opponents because they couldn't really charge them with treason, so they created this charge called sedition. And then fast forward a little bit past the American Revolution, John Adams passed the Sedition Acts, and it was rendered unconstitutional at that time. So what they did is, after the Civil War, they revamped it and they called it seditious conspiracy, right? It's a charge that's hardly been used, and basically what it means is that you tried to overthrow the U.S. government by use of force.
And you weren't even there.
And yeah, I don't know how the fuck I can try to attempt to overthrow the government from 120 miles away with no phone. Because the reason why I wasn't there was because I burned a BLM banner. God forbid.
Good.
Yeah.
Was that a crime?
Yeah, actually, it was a crime that it was a misdemeanor, and the judge gave me the maximum sentence, which was 6 months.
That's funny as burning a BLM flag?
Yeah, because it came from like this. I don't know if you've heard recently, but it came from this church, right? Where I didn't know. Like, I don't care what a church's views is. Like, you shouldn't take things from a church. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't take shit from anybody's personal property, because when you're risking your life
is absurd, though.
Yeah. So I saw a BLM banner on the floor and I burned it.
Oh, you didn't even pull it off the church?
No, I didn't even know where it came from. It was just in the streets of DC, and it was laying on the floor.
So if you didn't take it from the church, how could they convict you from stealing and burning it?
And the banner didn't say anything about a church. The banner just said Black Lives Matter, right? Uh, and to me, I I hate communists a little bit more than your average dude, you know.
Oh yeah, Cuba.
I'm Cuban, so we've seen it. Like my family was personally executed uh at the direct command of Che Guevara. So, and that's one of the reasons why I am here today, is because my grandfather, which is the one that you just saw bring me something, he that's why he fled, because he was afraid of the same fucking
Yeah, they execute him.
So the Black Lives Matter are a bunch of little commie fucks, is what they are.
Mm.
It's not about like nobody. It's always an emotional pull with these groups. Like, all right, you don't want people to be shot by police officers unjustly. I vibe with that, and I think 99% of America vibes with that. So they take these emotional pulls, and they kind of like, it's a bait and switch. They're like, oh, you think this is wrong? Come over here and let me show you about socialism. Let me show you about communism. Let me show you how to be a little fucking Marxist. So Antifa, right? Antifa.
Oh god, I hate that
it's
too.
like anti-fascist or whatever, which to me kind of just like the pull is anti-authoritarian, and I vibe with that too. I don't want to be fucking told what to do,
Mhm.
right? So it's not
Those
about fascism.
fuckers try telling us what to do is the problem.
Yeah. So with that, like, I saw it, and that's what it represents to me, and I burned it. So I went into DC knowing full well that I was going to get arrested, because the cops had already contacted me to question me or whatever, and I publicly admitted to burning it. So whatever, that's why I flew in January 4th, and on January 4th I got arrested with a whole fucking SWAT team for a misdemeanor. They shut down the whole highway in DC, a tunnel. And I knew I was going to get released the next day. So what my plan was, fly in, get arrested, and the next day get released. Well, there was a little wrench in my cog, and the judge decided that I shouldn't be in DC. It wasn't a big deal to me. I'm like, okay, fuck it. I won't see Trump speak. I've seen Trump speak a million times. I don't want to sit there and listen to him for 2 hours. Like, I agree with you, dude. But the guys wanted to go, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just go to a hotel in Baltimore. They took my phone from me for the misdemeanor, which I already found weird, and I'll tell you why.
Can they do that? I know they could do that.
Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly why they took my phone. So whatever, I go to Baltimore. I have no communication. January 6th happens. The Capitol gets stormed, and I see it like everybody else. Like, you probably saw it before I did. I turned on the TV. I didn't have my phone. I'm like, holy crap, this is cool.
Yeah, I was on Twitter, so I was seeing it early. I was like, oh, this is, exactly. This is awesome. I was tweeting how awesome it was.
Yeah. So I cross the street, and I go to Walgreens. I buy a burner phone. I don't even activate it. I log into the Wi-Fi. I log into my socials, and I start tweeting about it. Well, not tweeting, because I didn't have Twitter, but I had Parler. Whatever. Awesome. I start putting it. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is fucking cool. Don't fucking leave. Like, I'm rooting for my team.
Yeah.
Right. And then at night, like that same night, I'm like, man, thank God I fucking got like arrested for that. I wasn't there, so they can't arrest me. No. Well, and then the reason why they took my phone, so on February, a lot of people don't remember this, on January 12th, the FBI had a press conference about January 6th. And the first thing that they said when they asked them, what did you do to prevent the events of January 6th? And they're like, well, we helped arrest Enrique Tarrio. So the reason why they took my phone is because they wanted to pull the information off my phone, to do what feds do and pull that information in. So
yeah, it was a lot of it based off like groups texts I read, and like, I don't know, people that aren't in big groups of men, we exaggerate and joke, but we know, I mean, I don't know your situation, but I know my group feds are ridiculous if they would really, we say things when we know we're joking, exaggerating. It's what big groups
fucking
do. Exactly. Is that what they took, like conversations like that? And they're like,
they didn't find anything that said that we wanted to storm the Capitol, but they found us talking shit, putting up like, really spicy memes. Should they do the
Right to do.
in public? Yeah, you got a right to do it.
I do this
The
in my
guy.
group chats with my friends, exactly. And it's like things that people that don't know the context would think it was absurd, but it's like we're all like people think it's racist, but like most of the guys aren't even like white on the thing. It's just ridiculous thing to each other because it's what men do. We fuck around and like talk shit.
Yeah, so they used all that. What's crazy is like the judge allowed all those messages to come into the trial. We lost that trial on the first day. We picked a jury. We oppose. And I think again, I'm going to say that 99% of America fucking doesn't think that drag queen story hour is cool.
No, and the
Right?
1%
We protest our shit. We go in there, we start a show, we say they were showing up to see if we could shut it down, right? Before you traumatize these kids,
Oh, it's
right? And
disgusting what they're doing to
their
the
parents
kids.
are disgusting. The trannies there are just disgusting. And we oppose it. So
Any man that wants to put a dress on and read books to kids, that is a pedophile. So
yeah,
thank you,
that's
thank you for
exactly
protesting that.
yeah, and that's a regular ass dude shit to do, right?
Mhm.
And so the foreman of the jury organizes these events
Oh no!
in DC during the trial.
So you were
And
the devil.
Proud Boys are protesting this dude's events during the trial. So these are the kind of people that they let into our jury. So we lost that shit on the first day. But we knew we wanted to go to trial because there was a lot of things that we could preserve, and maybe the appellate court or the Supreme Court would have overthrown. And we did beat them at the Supreme Court at least at one time. And our case was getting ready to go to the Supreme Court for the sedition charge.
I want people held accountable for this, like the judge, the prosecutor. Is there any way to do that? These people deserve to be in jail. What they did to you is just criminal. You didn't do anything wrong. They put you in prison for 22 years trying to take your entire life. This is criminal. These people need to be made an example of. Other than really to like, how is there any way to go about it?
So we did do something. We took a really big step in that direction just last week on Friday. We announced that we are moving forward with a lawsuit, the five of us, because it's five brothers that are in there.
What were the premise? How many? Well, what was the longest sentence? Was yours the longest, or someone?
Mine was the longest by 4 years. The one under me was 18, and one of them was my co-defendant, and the other one was the leader of the Oath Keepers.
And no one did much serious, right? The guys had maybe minor riots, but was trying to overthrow the government. No one had guns.
In our case, we have zero violent charges. We got none of my guys put hands on cops or any of that. So,
why do you think they went after you guys so hard? Because it's clearly they just want to make an example of you guys, but why? Because you're organized groups, or
we were. I'd say the leadership of the Proud Boys at that time was very media savvy, and we knew how to get an objective done without actually doing it. Like we went to Portland many times, right? Before that,
yeah.
And I'll never put my guys in like danger, right? I'm not going to put my guys to line up with Antifa just for the fuck of it. Yeah, so what we would do is we'd say, oh, we're going to Portland to clean the streets or whatever. And then last minute we'd switch it up. And Antifa would come out and burn their own city while we're like across the city in a park, very safe with like, we're grilling. We got beer. We had one time we had like a big White Claw truck pull up, giving away White Claws. Some of the guys fucking got some strippers to come out there. So like we partied while they burned their city, and like we completed our objective. We didn't need to go out there and like beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, for people that don't know, I just want to add real quick, for Portland, they rioted for like a year, right? They tore down the whole city, constant fights. I was actually up there during some of that. I was up there during the BLM riots, and it was insane. And I've actually had fist fights with Antifa. That's originally what made me start following politics early on. And they're just the weakest, most pathetic people. I want to come back with like 7 or 8 fighters and just beat the crap out of them all, but thankfully I didn't do it. I just was so enraged when I fought them.
Like if you're there, and it's happened to where we're at an event in Portland and they decide to like throw bricks or ball bearings or a whole bunch of crap, and then we'll beat the brakes off of them. So I'm not saying that like we wouldn't do it, but I'm not gonna instigate it. I'm not gonna instigate it. Like self-defense is the motto. Like, I'm not gonna go over there and try
Yeah.
to fucking like let them burn the city down. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, they're
You
just
know,
burning their own city.
not my
And they
like
ruined that city. It already had problems, but they destroyed it.
yeah. So like honestly, like I guess in like an alternate reality, I would love cities like Portland and DC just go full leftist. Like allow you to marry your dog, allow bestiality, just let it do it. Just let people see exactly what their utopia looks like, you know.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
give them any pushback. Just let them pass all these ordinances that they want to pass. Let them pass.
Yeah.
You know, they're DC people are killing themselves. They're like, when we're in the DC gulag, um, there was like 11 and 12-year-olds that were there that were charged with murder, you know? So like they're literally like killing each other, they're fucking each other in prison.
Mm.
And like the degeneracy there is just like at an all-time high. You know, and like for the Proud Boys, like I get it. Like a lot of people don't like us for a lot of reasons, right? We act like we're a bunch of degenerates, but we're actually our morals are very high, right? Where it's the opposite with a lot of people and a lot of other groups, even in
Yeah.
right wing groups where they act like they're morally superior, but they're really degenerates. So we got a cool little like man's club going. It's a cool
Yeah. All right. So
fraternity.
you're still in the Proud Boys?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Are you
Yeah.
the leader or
Unfortunately, we don't talk about what our
okay, yeah.
national structure is, but I could tell you at least one thing I could tell you is that I am a president at a local level. I am a president of a chapter here in Miami.
Do you have any relationship with Gavin or is he completely
Oh no,
no?
we have a really good
You're a,
relationship.
oh yeah, yeah. I like Gavin.
I actually
So,
talked to him just a little while ago. I was we're in Mar-a-Lago and we were on FaceTime planning a trip for me to go up there to New York to see him.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I think I'm gonna go to New York sometime to interview him. Actually, I like Gavin.
Oh, and man, he's a trip.
He was like when I first started following politics, he was the first guy I was watching because I could relate to him because he was fighting back against them. He wasn't like this boring ass conservative. I'm like, oh, I like this guy. He was the first guy I started watching. So I'm glad you have a good relationship with him still. I understand why he stepped away though, because he just got so much crazy criticism for that.
Yeah, and you know, he's a perfect example of that degenerate moral dude. You know, if you watch his show, I mean, it's wild. Um, uh, and it's his own like brand, so he doesn't have to like worry about somebody canceling him. You know, but like in real life, he's got his wife and kids. He goes to like baseball games. You know, he to his kids' baseball games and stuff like that. So like he's a perfect example, I think, of that. And a lot of people give him shit. They're like, "Oh, well, he's some degenerate." He's not.
I think a lot of people are like that when we kind of act degenerate, but we're actually the best morals. And you get these guys that are acting like they're the great people and they're the biggest scumbags. It's really interesting. That's what I learned always. Don't judge someone like what you see their persona either. Get to like know them. You know, you be around famous people like, oh, he looks like a prick on TV. And you get around him like, whoa, this is the best genuine dude. And the guy's acting Mr. Genuine. You're like, oh, this guy's a sleazeball. They're almost trying to do a fake. If they're trying too hard to look pure, they're usually not.
Yeah, of course. You know, if you read if you go down and you read my tweets, you're like, damn, this guy's gonna beat the shit out of these cops or something, you know. But it's kind of a pull too because it it amplifies our message and it allows me to have podcasts like this where I could say, you know, what my views are. I'm a calm, cool, collected person, bro. I don't fuck around. I got my business, I got my family, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen, bro. So when they came and they kicked down my door and they turned it into toothpicks, I was like, wait, what the fuck are these guys doing here? It was like 5 a.m.
Competing at the highest level has taught me the importance of supporting my body so I can always feel and perform my best. Unfortunately, we're seeing a generational decline in men's testosterone due to lifestyle choices, diet, and environmental toxins. This can lead to fatigue, diminished strength, reduced libido, mood swings, and overall loss of vitality, keeping you from feeling like your best self. That's why I recommend Men's Edge from Neutronics Lab. It's more than just a booster, it combines Finnegeek, IGF-1, and NO2. Sign up for AutoShip today and receive 50% off every order. Visit Neutronics Labs now and use the code FIGHTBACK for an additional 10% off your first purchase. Methylene blue has been used for over 100 years for medical purposes and recently surged back into popularity. It has been shown to help repair brain tissue and improve memory, cognitive function, energy, and mood. Research suggests that methylene blue could have neuroprotective effects, possibly aiding in conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and depression. Go to MerakiMedicinal.com and use the promo code FIGHTBACK for a discount. So I think this was a huge, huge deal, and more Americans should have been outraged. It shows that they can just take and not follow our Constitution and take someone like you that didn't break any laws and put you in prison. They did this to a lot of guys. And there was also, as we know, lots of feds were involved in setting it up.
Yes.
And that was the largest FBI investigation of all time. It was ridiculous.
Well, just to tell you, in the Proud Boys, the feds had infiltrated, just for January 6th alone, they had infiltrated 26 different agents, collaborators, and informants, right? And we go to trial, right? And guess how many of those collaborators, agents, and informants did the prosecution bring on the stand?
Probably none.
Zero. They didn't bring any because all of them said the same thing. All of them said, look, these guys are wild, these guys are crazy, but they didn't plan to storm the Capitol. And we actually went and we subpoenaed one of these federal agents. And while he was on the stand, we actually found out this guy's been doing this for 10 years. He's a paid informant. That's what he does. He like jumps into like groups and he informs on these groups. Well, come to find out, this paid informant was at a very, very critical breach point, and he is the reason why that breach was even able to happen. I don't know if you've seen this scene from inside the Capitol where this aluminum gate's like coming down.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, there's a scene. It's somewhere in the basement, and that's where you get access to the tunnel that like the emergency escape tunnel that goes to the Rayburn building. Well, while this thing's coming down, this Fed grabs a podium and sprints over to the door and like props it right under the door, allowing everybody to
let everyone come in.
And we found that out. So I mean, it was a roll of the dice, and we find this guy. So imagine how many more paid feds were in there, like leading the charge.
Yeah, haven't they held a lot of the video footage too, or has that been released? So I think they're holding a lot of it, correct?
So an interesting thing about our case, because of the allegations that we planned the entire thing, we actually had access to everybody's discovery. And I'm talking about not just the 1,600 defendants in the cases. I'm talking about people beyond that. So we had complete access to what's called global discovery. I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks, there's because those things have a protective order by the judge. I'm hoping that protective order lifts so we could expose some of this. So there is video that has not been released. There are characters that haven't been released. And, again, we had access to everybody's phones. We had access to the chief of police, of the Capitol Police, his communications, the cops on the floor, on the ground that day, what they were saying about it after, what they were saying about it beforehand. So there a lot of that. I wish I can talk about it, but it does have a protective order, and hopefully soon we can release some of this stuff.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some transparency to see how much of this is a setup, how much it seems like a lot of it was, and people need to be held accountable. I mean, not be Trump will do something about it.
Not like that Bufu Epstein file thing either. Where those social media dudes are fucking
holding up the
look what I got. Okay, what the fuck is inside the binder? Did you even read? I wouldn't even post it if I would have been in there, which they'll probably never let me in there as some type of influencer or whatever. Like, before I post a picture, I'm gonna read through this thing.
Well, I think they were happy that it wasn't released. Is exactly why. Those are the guys that don't want it released.
Yeah.
So, but we won't get into the Epstein thing, but wow, that is a bunch of bullshit. I think, there's a foreign agent behind that they don't want out.
Definitely. I think that there's a lot of shit in there. I don't think for me, it's not a hill to die on, right? I'm not going to sit there and I think people that obsess over like one topic,
yeah.
You kind of start spurging out and you kind of like burn out. But it is an important thing that needs to come out. But there's a lot more battles that need to be like fought.
Well,
There's a lot more.
personally, I think a lot of battles connect to the same people, and that's my one criticism of Trump. But I don't want to get into that in this podcast. Like after what Trump just did to you, you see, the guy literally gave you your life back, which is
No, and feel free to criticize. Like I criticized the president a shit ton, before all of this.
as we should criticize it. We should praise him and we should criticize him. I praise him when he does good things. I criticize him, like when he let you guys out, I was like, wow, I didn't expect this. Because January 6th was a big deal to me because it just showed that they could take the biggest, should have been a big deal to all Americans what they did. It was like a war on American rights. Imagine if they had done that to the BLM people. I would have been against that too. Even though I don't like those people, I wouldn't have put them in jail for 22 years. I couldn't imagine doing that. Like literally taking someone's life that might have kids and family. That's just evil. Do you know the prosecutors and judges' names by chance?
Yeah, and I've named them on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, say it again. I want to hear these scumbags' names so people can know.
So Jason McCullough, it was the lead prosecutor, and funny as it may be, just an hour ago, he got demoted to the misdemeanor courts in the Superior Court in D.C., so not even like a federal cases. I think he deserves more than just being demoted. I think he should be fired. But also, I think the next step is making them I think it's to force him to quit, because it's like he was like the head of a whole bunch of departments. Now he's like working misdemeanors in DC, right? So that's number one. Then the supervisor, which is above him, that supervised all the January 6 cases, her last name is Ballantyne. I can't remember her first name right now. Eric Kennerson was another prosecutor in our case, and Connor Mulrow was another person in our case. I don't know what their status currently is, but the FBI agents also need to be fired.
Yeah,
and they need to be investigated, and they need to be prosecuted, because if they investigate them, they will prosecute them because they did commit a lot.
Yeah, I want to see these people in jail. They literally did that. They took your guys' life away for political reasons, and it's just they tried giving you 33 years, correct?
Yeah, they tried. No, what's funny is they tried to give me 33 years, and the judge at sentencing was like, "Oh, I'm being extra nice." He was like expecting me to have gratitude that he lowered my sentence so much from 33 to 22. But as soon as they sentenced me, a couple weeks later, instead of us appealing first, the prosecutors appealed my sentence and said that the judge was too lenient and should have gave me 33 years. So like these people, like I don't want retaliation for just retaliation's sake. I want true retribution.
We need it for justice of the country.
Yeah, true retribution is accountability, right? So you did something wrong, you need to pay for it.
Yeah, no, they need prison. I mean, what did you feel? What emotion did you feel when you heard 33 years or 22 years? You must have just been like absolute shock and despair.
It was anger, right? Hate is another word. Anger and hate was what I felt, because like when you know you did nothing wrong, like if I did something that merited 22 years, I'd be like, fuck, man, I fucked up. But there was this anger and this rage and this hate in me at the time. It took a couple of weeks to kind of just cool down from that and kind of like get my bearing again. And eventually I did. It was still like a roller coaster of emotions, but at the end of the day, I knew one way or another I was coming home, whether it was through appeal, through the Supreme Court, or
you had hope the whole time.
Yeah.
Did you ever have moments where you were losing hope?
Yeah, a lot of moments. I'd lie to you if I didn't tell you, if I told you like, oh, I'm a big, strong man. And no, dude, like sometimes you're in there, you're like, fuck, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in here. I'm not going to see I moved in my grandfather with me just a little bit before that. Right. And, he's an older man. He's 93 years old, and I'm like, and I care for him because he raised me. My grandfather raised me. So I'm like, fuck, I'm never going to see him again.
You owe this man. Yeah.
I'm never going to see this dude again, and it's their fault. So that's where the anger and that rage came in. But it did take a little while for me to just chill out.
Yeah, I can imagine. When I was in jail, I deserved to be there, so I felt more, anger at myself. But jail is not a fun place, like you said. You have to take shits in front of people. Like it's just like dirty.
The politics,
yeah.
You have to. And we weren't in like little boy jail. We were at like high mediums, where there's politics.
Yeah,
You know, you got to
the racial
join.
politics, and
You got
you're mixed race. That must be really
Oh,
complicated.
it's super confusing for everybody. I'm like, what fucking car do I sit in? Do I sit in the like what car?
Be tough, right?
Do I sit in the black car? Do I sit in with the Latin car? The Latin cars I didn't want to sit with because it's usually like Mexicans and paisas. So like they have a lot of drama, and I'm not dealing with nobody shit.
And they might
So
shank you.
yeah. So I rolled with the Cubans. The Cubans rolled that, and actually was the head of a car, the Caribbean car. The 2 months before I got released. So right after the election, all the way through January 21st.
So you had no problem for the most part
No,
adjusting.
I didn't have.
Or like messing with you. Well, you carry yourself well, so I think people like the little bit of time in jail is just you see it's like they look for personalities that are weak and like who to go after. Because I had no issues and I was in a mostly Mexican jail, but some of the white guys were constantly getting fucked with. I just think it's all about like how you carry yourself and how you handle it.
And you carry a shank, bro.
Exactly.
You gotta carry a fucking shank no matter where you go. But regardless, I'm not fucking with you. It's true.
No.
But it's all about respect, right? And then
exactly.
And one thing that like the left, when we got arrested, they're like, oh man, they're gonna fucking kill these dudes.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. We got so much love and so much respect from everybody, right? There was a lot of officers that were fucking dicks. But
it's crazy, the officer, because police are usually pretty right-leaning.
Well, it depends on the city, right? So like in Atlanta, it's a fucking cesspool, dude. It's a fucking cesspool. But we got a lot of love from the inmates because, even if 95% of people in there, I think, like committed these acts, maybe they got too much of a sentence, right? Like they have this quarrel with the U.S. government because they feel like they got fucked one way or another. So when they see us, they see people that fought the people that fucked them. So we get a lot of love, a lot of respect. We get somewhere, nobody fucks with us. Another rule is don't let chomos walk on the yard.
What's that?
Don't let chomos walk on the yard.
Chomos? What's that?
Yeah, chomos are child molesters.
Oh yeah, they kill them in prison, huh?
It has to be on site with some of them. Like you don't let them walk.
Yeah, no, that's one good thing about prison. They have better moral standards than we do on that aspect. Isn't that crazy? They kill the child molesters.
Yeah, they'll beat the brakes on them, put them in the hospital, or kill them.
Yeah, thankfully, I don't know too much about the prison culture and stuff, but it seems that like anywhere in life, if you demand respect, people are going to respect you. If you're like, when I was in jail, there was like a little white boy tweaker looking down. So a guy comes up and goes, get the fuck out of my chair. And he got up and moved, So I like grabbed the tray. I thought I would have to hit the guy. And then he just like introduced himself, starts being cool. So I'm like, okay, it's how you carry yourself.
It's a jungle, right? The rules are different. The rules are different in there than they are here. It's like lawless. Even though you're locked up, it's lawlessness. Right, because it's about respect. It's about like not screwing somebody over, not stealing.
Keeping your word. Yeah, stealing would probably be a big one because someone
owing money.
In jail. Yeah.
So like it's a different. We could do a whole documentary on just like prison culture.
If someone presses you, you probably have to fight though.
You have no
choice. Punk you, otherwise you're gonna keep getting punked.
Yep, and it's very true. I'm like, when I get there, they told me that. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. But I didn't know to the gravity. Like if you let somebody step on you once, everybody sees it, and then that's how they test you.
Yeah, that's what I noticed the time in. The guys that would get punked were just constantly getting punked. No one even tried to fuck me, which is weird because maybe they knew they could tell I would fight. Yeah. So no, it's just weird how, like I said, that was just one small jail. So I don't know. Imagine the whole culture everywhere. It's like that. It's like anywhere like Network with Men. You're part of the Proud Boys, high up in it, so you know how to network, make relationships. Yeah. It's like that anywhere in life.
It's being able to like just like don't be a social retard, right? And like you'll do okay.
Yeah, songs like that, you can. I think a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, for sure you're gonna get fucked with this, that. It's like as long as you're not a total fucking idiot and you can make some friendships, don't cause problems, you'll be okay.
Don't owe people money, and if you do drugs, do them in your room, right? Don't fuck off everybody by like passing out in the middle of the ground. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do none of that shit. But yeah, prison culture is different. But like we're saying with the officers, some of those officers like the DC, like those DC cops and the fucking cops in Atlanta or the cops in like Petersburg, Virginia, like all these left-leaning cities that like do these DEI hires, like that's where you're gonna get
DEI hires. That's the problem. Because San Francisco police, at least when I lived there, they were actually pretty right leaning. But the problem is they were just so like disheartened, they kind of stopped arresting anyone because the DAs were just letting them out. So they just got lazy and just kind of stopped caring. But for the most part, they were still right leaning.
Yeah. The two worst type of cops in there are the ones that like want to do their job, like excessively do their job, and the ones that don't want to do their job. Because like the ones that I'll give you an example, like in Atlanta, like 3 cells from me, we're in solitary.
Mm-hmm.
These cops would never come by. They would never fucking do. You're supposed to do your rounds every 15 minutes. They would never come by. They come by
Lazy
like
fucks.
3 times. Yeah, 3 times a day. So like 4 cells for me, and there wasn't emergency buttons there because it's a very old building. And like this guy's like banging and saying, "Hey, I'm having a heart attack," and like I'm banging on the door so they can hear. The cops had just passed by when he started banging on the door. And then like a little while later, I stopped hearing him banging on the door, and I keep banging on the door. Well, 4 hours later, cop comes by, looks in the window, and like calls the code, which is like call medical. When the medical came there, they pulled this guy out of his cell, and he literally looked like a piece of wood. He was dead for hours. His body was cold, and it's sad, because
Because yeah, they could have saved him
they
probably.
could have
They
saved
just
him.
ignored him.
Yeah.
That was just
So
sad. Just you see the people that don't care about their job, don't care if you die. It's sad seeing that. That happened to San Francisco with all the police. They weren't bad men. They just like stopped caring. They would let like you could steal right in front of them. The cops would just sit there and watch it. And that's why I got the hell out of that city. Did you live in Portland or are you near there?
no, I just went over there to stir shit up.
Have a little fun. The Proud Boys are still very active, right?
Yeah, the Proud Boys never went away. Like I'm about to actually put a Twitter thread of all the articles since 2017 till now of people saying the fall of the Proud Boys. This is the end of the Proud Boys. Proud Boys are over, right? And like Stuart Rhodes, he has the Oath Keepers, and like his organization's very structured. So when they took him out of when they arrested him, the structure crumbled.
Collapsed.
With us, like since we're pro small government, it'd be like stupid for us to
It's
create
not
this
one head
giant
leader. There's a different people they have.
Yeah, I was a chairman, which is like just the voice of the club.
Yeah.
I had no executive power over the dudes. Like I couldn't tell anybody what to do. So when I got picked up and Ethan got picked up, that was like the 2 voices in the club, but it didn't even cause a dent, because we don't need a leader. We just need to go out once a month and drink beer with the boys. That's the only thing that's the only thing you got to do.
So
you don't got to go to a fucking rally. You don't got to wear the fucking plate carrier. You don't got to wear the body armor. You don't got to do none of that. You just got to go out once a month and drink beer with the boys, which is about what 90% of the Proud Boys do.
Yeah,
I'm a very political person, so like I like going out there and doing things. It's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But I have the time. I'm a business owner, right? So I have the means to do it. Like if you want to go out to if you're a Proud Boy and like you want to go out to these rallies, right? And like you fucking like tap into like your kids' tuition to do it, like I don't want you.
No, yeah, you got to take
Right.
care of yourself before you do extras. That's where I always look at it. First, I take
And
care of
like
your family. Then
we've had
your stuff.
people, we've kicked out a lot of people over the years. We have a lot of people that join the club and they make it their everything, right? That's their entire existence, being a Proud Boy, and those are people that we don't want either.
Yeah, I mean, like I was in San Francisco for a while. It reminds me completely different, but like there's this Burning Man thing. These people would go and they'd make it their whole identity. It's like their whole thing's based around it. It's like, bro, it's a party out in the desert, and your whole identity is based on it. Now you do want a community. It's great to have a community, and Proud Boy probably I don't know much about it, but the communities are so crucial. But unless you're making a lot of money or adding to your life, don't want to make that your world. It's like a good social club, and men or everyone really needs social clubs, and that's. To me, that's part of the downfall of America is there's no men's clubs anymore. We have to start creating things like this. I get it through like jujitsu and fighting, but most men have no outlet where it's just men together.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I said about like if you obsess over something so much and you obsess over one issue, it kind of like just destroys your entire life, right? Like I have concerns about Israel, right? But it's not my entire existence to like blame like everything on Israel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I have the same concern for Israel as I do for like Mexico.
Yeah.
You understand? And like we see a lot of people that just spurred out, right?
Yeah.
And like that's their entire existence, that's their entire life, and you're gonna just burn yourself out, right?
No, I think
It's okay to be
yeah.
criticizing other countries that we give money to.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't give that much money to
Yeah, we
to
give
these
Israel the
countries.
most. They are a big problem, but there are other problems too. Yeah, you can't blame Israel. You are a lot of risks, but they're not the only problems. You give a shitload of money to Ukraine as well, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's lots of problems.
There's lots of problems, and just like, dude, I'm not the president of the United States. I can't fight every problem. Like somebody on my account the other day is like, "Oh, why aren't you talking about the Epstein files?" Because like I care about them, but I really don't give a shit enough to like fight.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need to tweet about everything. People are like always sometimes, why I tweet about this? I'm like, oh, there's a lot of shit going on. Sometimes I don't know what's going on, or I'm busy, or I'm not following. I like to like look things up before I make an opinion on it. I don't like to just jump to an opinion because my side's making that opinion.
Of course.
I think you should look at every issue individually. I think that's probably too. People are on this party and that party instead of looking at each issue and trying to figure out, oh, does this make sense? Is this good? Is this bad?
Yeah,
The team
I agree.
politics.
I agree. You know, there's a lot of shit going on. So like,
Yeah.
but
So, yeah,
I mean, I'm free, which is great. So again, I walked into like this crazy multiverse, and like you guys, I guess, like everybody, while we've been gone, has done like this great job of just changing the culture.
oh, there's been a major culture shift because for me, I was one of the early people criticizing the trans stuff, and but you were I think at the time too, and it was really, really, really controversial back then. Now it's like the norm. Obviously, everyone agreed with us, but to be like this trans shit is freaky, I would get so much hate, death threats. People would be like, "Oh, I can't like your tweets." Like grown men tell me they're scared to like my tweet. It's like, bro, you're a fucking grown man. You're scared to like my tweet. Listen to yourself. They think it's like a positive. It's like, no, you're telling me you're a coward. But
It's
that
cool.
that is
It's
shifted.
cool to hate on Drag Queen Story Hour now.
Yeah, thankfully. But for a while, that was how crazy that was actually controversial a few years ago. Like these pedophiles were with kids, and that's controversial. So I know there's been a major cultural shift. Let's hit a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. Did you follow I don't know if I'm saying the name right, the Whitmer or whatever kidnapping plot?
So I followed it. Actually, somebody that was he was a co-conspirator. He wasn't like a defendant in the case because they ended up not arresting him. Is a J6er. But I did keep up with it a good amount. And like, how many times are you going to try somebody, you know? And then on top of just trying, like, it was straight entrapment.
It was a setup. They found these guys that weren't planning on doing anything, and they talked them into like kidnap her. None of them, I don't think, were actually going to do it. They were just kind of like playing along. Some of these guys are probably like autistic loners. They have no friends, and they're getting played along. And then they're like, "Oh, now you're in prison." It's terrible. I mean, another thing I noticed, the FBI, they never go and infiltrate Antifa. That's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, you don't see it. You don't see that like actual groups that are out there like burning cities, they don't do it. But like these individuals are from Michigan, like they go ahead and not only infiltrate, they like basically pointed them in a direction and
Yeah.
helped them go in
They
that
pretty much
direction.
planned it, from my understanding. I didn't go deep investigation into it, but it looked like they basically planned it for them and had them agree to go along. And then like, "Ha, you planned on kidnapping her."
Yeah,
Complete
and
insanity.
that's a huge problem that we have in the justice system, and I think something I don't know how to fix it. I'm not a legislator. Well, not yet, but they something needs to be done about that because it's not just on the political scale too. Like there's this thing called like ghost dope, where like they arrest people and they put them in jail for decades for like dope that doesn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't like fentanyl dealers that they should get fucking life.
Yeah.
Right?
They're killing so many
They're
people.
literally killing people, but like giving people in decades in prison for shit that doesn't exist, that's
So
wrong.
it's put people in prison. It's such a very serious thing, as you know. You literally, it's like like I'm glad you pointed out that it's your family too. They're hurting them, your grandpa, your wife, like everyone close to you. It's like taking someone's life away, and these people just do it like it's nothing.
Yeah,
You know.
we in the Proud Boys have this thing called the Hereafter chapter, which is Proud Boys that have passed away, and a lot of them have passed away because they go to like get their drugs or whatever, and like they're laced with fentanyl, right? And they weren't going to buy fentanyl, and then they end up croaking on something that they shouldn't,
Yeah, they're putting it in Coke and stuff now. I mean, I haven't done it in years, but you hear like people, I know a friend that OD'd on that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's it's a bad drug, and it's a bad. I've seen people die in prison too from fentanyl overdoses on shit that they, again,
I
nobody
think it's something
decides
else.
to go. Hey, let me go do some fentanyl. It's mixed with something else. So this conspiracy, to go back into this conspiracy thing in Michigan, like, I don't know what needs to be done because it's a state charge, and
Mm. Oh,
we
can Trump not pardon them because of that?
no, he
That's
can't,
terrible.
because we actually have another person, Tina Peters, that was exposing like election fraud in Colorado, and like the Colorado government came and like locked her up. So I think there's been some movement with the Trump team trying to pressure her.
Yeah, that'd be good because those guys don't deserve to be in prison. That's not your case was more ridiculous, but that's also ridiculous. You're probably the most ridiculous case I've ever seen. That's why I'm glad that you came on the show. It's just, and right from the very beginning, I had your back. I wasn't one of those fake ass influencers being like, "This is terrible," then switched when it became cool to switch. I fucking hate those guys as much as the liberals.
Yeah. And I think something needs to get done, like some pressure needs to be applied, because um they're suffering, just even though I got 22 years, like I did 3 years, like some of them have been in there for longer than that. So they're suffering just as much, and their families are suffering just as much over bullshit.
It's hard
You
to
know,
reset your life too after being in prison for a few years. It's really hard to get
it's hard.
out and then restart, especially if you have like a felony and stuff. For luckily yours is pardoned, so you don't have any felonies and stuff. And it's something your family support, or yeah, maybe later. But
I was a fuck up before, and I deserved it. I'm not even like saying,
but you can see the difference between when you deserved a jail versus when you didn't. It's a different. You can be okay, I fucked up, I needed some jail time. But when you were literally put in jail when you didn't deserve it at all, that's my problem. Because sometimes we do need to go in jail. There's no doubt about that. But you also need a reasonable sentence because a lot of us will change and become better men. We can learn from our mistakes.
yeah, no, and I agree. Look, something that happens when we're touching on like J6ers and like traumatizing experiences with prison. We heard like about a month ago that a January 6er got shot and killed by an Indiana police officer. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Actually, Babbitt are talking about a different one.
No, a
Okay.
different one. He got pardoned by the president,
Oh,
and then there was a police involved shooting, right? He got pulled over, and the cop killed him, right?
damn, I didn't hear about this.
Well, everybody was up in arms, and was like, "Oh, he got murdered or whatever." And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till I see like the body cam footage, which came out yesterday. And it's the saddest video in the world. Take a look at it after we get off this
Yeah.
podcast. Take a look at it. It's the saddest thing in the world because this cop was real cool with the guy, and then I guess he had like multiple suspensions on his driver's license, and in Indiana it's a felony, right?
Oh, wow.
So he pulls him out of the car. Very nice. He's like, "Look, I know that you just got pardoned by the president, but like you shouldn't be driving. You shouldn't be driving. So I got to take you in today." So
Mhm.
this, you see his hands shaking. And he he's like begging the cop not to take him in. He's like, "Look, if it was a misdemeanor, I'd let you
It's
go, but
trauma.
it's a felony. I brought it up, and it shows that you're supposed to be arrested, so like it's not my choice." So then the guy runs to his car, and the cop's like, "Stop, stop, stop." And he goes into the car, and this is like the saddest part about it. He grabs a gun, but he wasn't going to shoot the cop. He said, "I'm going to shoot myself."
Damn, he is so traumatized. Going to go back to
He
jail.
didn't want to go back. So the video doesn't show everything, but you could kind of see it through the blur where he grabs the gun and he's about to point, and the officer had to fire. Because, at that point, you don't know. You don't know where he's going to shoot. So the
Yeah.
officer fired, I think, a couple rounds, I think emptied a mag. Um, and like that shows you the trauma, and the cop isn't to blame there. And that's in that situation. The people who are to blame though is the Biden administration, because they wanted to get reelected, and they wanted to fucking put their opponents in prison. Um, like, you traumatize somebody and you cause them to die. So that blood is on Joe Biden's hands, on Kamala Harris's hands, and the
Yeah.
rest of these fucking pieces of shit that helped enable this, from the FBI agents to the prosecutors. That man died. His name's Huddle. That man died because of them.
Yeah, man, it's sick and sad what they did, like, the trauma. I mean, like I said, I'm enraged by this, so I can't imagine what you must feel having gone through this. And I would love to see some kind of justice. I don't know how, but these guys, it's literally, and it's so many Democrats went along with this political prosecution. You know, we weren't trying to put these BLM people in jail for their entire life. We weren't doing that. So the fact that it just shows the vindictiveness, it's kind of scary that so many went along with this. It shows there's people that hate us and want us dead and in jail in this country. We also need to be careful not to, look at all Democrats as enemies, but it just shows you there are some of these guys that literally want us in prison or dead.
Yeah, and that's their thing, right? Like, you can't beat us because we do have the moral high ground. So you're like, okay, well, if I can't beat him, we're going to lock them up and kill him, because that's what they tried to do with the president too. They were trying to put him. He's an older man. And like any of those charges, if any of those charges would have stuck, besides the New York one, like you're looking at least a decade, you know?
Yeah, they wanted him to die in jail.
And they wanted him to die in jail, like, can you imagine in America where Kamala Harris wins and these cases continue to move forward and Jack Smith is still there?
Yeah.
And we're still locked up.
Yeah, you would still be in jail if you had won.
And then abortion, people like these people, these pro-life protesters too, Bev Beatty, she blocked a driveway to like an abortion clinic, right? Boom, 4 years of prison.
Really? I haven't heard. I need to look this one out. That's terrible. It just shows you the difference of how they try, left wing versus right wing. I don't think most of these left wing people deserve long prison sentences, but some of these guys burnt like police stations down. They deserve something, and they got nothing.
Here's a perfect example. Like Steve Bannon did 3 months for like sending them to go fuck themselves with a subpoena, right? Merrick Garland did the same exact thing. And then obviously he ran the DOJ, and his own people, he didn't put a special prosecutor on it. His own people declined to press charges. He at the very least, needs to do exactly what Bannon did and do 90 days in prison. I don't think he's going to have a happy time in prison, man. So he might need to be put in protective custody and be put in the SHU for 3 months. But that's what he deserves.
Oh, you did deserve it. It has to be the same both ways. Off topic, something just popped in my head. That's also back to Proud Boys. Did you see when there was a brawl with some of the guys in Antifa, and the guy got sent to he fought Antifa and he got sent to, I don't know, multiple years in jail, and he had like children and shit. Gavin was involved.
That's why Gavin stepped down. Because it's called the New York City 9, and I actually have.
They called one of the guys a white supremacist, and he had like a black wife. And
I don't want to make it sound like I have it for like solidarity, but I always wear it because it's the 9 guys that got arrested. But 2 of them took it to trial, and they gave them 4 years. And
for self-defense.
And it was clearly self-defense. It was at Gavin's show. It was like a comedy show. So Antifa shows up to protest it, which is fine. They could protest whatever they want, but these little shits aren't there to protest. Yeah. So that they ended the comedy show ended, and they were walking to their car. There was a police line. These people ran around the police line, followed them to their car, and then they threw a water bottle at them. When they threw the water bottle at them, then that's when these guys went and like beat the brakes off these guys, right? And they got 4 years. And the biggest problem that we have in the United States, I think, is single parent homes.
Yeah.
Right? They're the cause of these mass shootings that the left always like fucking like cries about, and they want to blame everything, but the real problem, it's single family homes, single parent homes, and specifically single mothers, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a dig at single mothers, it's a dig at the actual the father that just fucking just runs out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the father that ran away. Oh, it is one of the biggest issues. Like a child needs a mother and a father for different purposes. Like, I don't know if you've seen the videos where they take the kids and hand them to 2 gay men. That just like absolutely just made me disgusted and vile.
Yeah. And again, like a lot of people are like say, oh, well, you're digging at I'm not digging at single mothers, bro. I'm not. I'm blaming the party. I'm blaming the dude that left. Does he have reason to leave? Maybe the chick is like insane, crazy, but that's your kid. You know what I'm saying? And like, you don't have to. You don't have to marry the chick. You don't have to live with the chick.
But stay in the kid's life.
Stay in the kid's life.
Yeah, no, there's situations where you can't be with a woman, but stay in the kid's life and regularly. You can't just like pop in occasionally. The father's absolutely needed, for both for daughters and sons, because the sons will get violent jail. The daughter will turn into like OnlyFans whores. So it's like that's the father's job. Well, anything else you want to hit before we wrap up, or
I think it's important for people, I think it's important for people to criticize the president, right?
Yeah, no,
because like people deify the president, and I hate it when they do that. They're like, oh, this guy's like Jesus or whatever. He's not, right? And it actually makes his story so much more like awesome, right? Because he survived 2 impeachments. They indicted him 4 times. They tried to kill him twice. They put him through trial. They put him through hell, and he's still there. Like, dude, I don't know a single person in my life that has that luck. And that's what's so amazing about it. So criticizing the president, he is a representative of you. So criticizing the president is something that must be done, but also you need to celebrate him, right? You need to celebrate him when he's right. And like the celebration, the specific celebration of the win of November 5th, that shit's over. We only got 4 years. We got less than 4 years, right? Like,
yeah.
If we don't change the direction, we've gone in a great direction. If we don't change the direction even more drastically, like what happened to me is going to happen to a lot of people, and probably worse. We're not the freest country in the world. We're not the most perfect country in the world. Actually, there's a lot of countries in Europe that are doing a lot better than we are in some categories. Maybe not immigration, but the truth is, like, you got to be vigilant. You got to get active too. Just being on the internet is a good start, but like,
yeah,
dude, get involved locally. Like, get elected locally. Knock on doors for your favorite candidate. There's a lot more people that are active now, but it has to be, because it is the future. It's your maybe it's your grandkids' future, but it'll happen. It'll happen if we allow it to fucking happen.
Yeah, I think local politics is extremely important that you mentioned. A lot of people neglect that and only look at the president, but your local politics are everything.
It's so easy to win locally. So easy to win locally.
Yeah.
Like, some people don't know, like, you could get 150 votes for like a committee seat and like nail it.
Yeah, and that often makes more difference in your day-to-day life than the president. And it's like
the mayor has more power over your life than the president.
Mm-hmm. But our country is in a dangerous situation where you could see how easily it just could completely, like, you guys being arrested and rounded up just shows you how the government could just turn on us and start putting us in prison for no reason. It's a scary time. We need to, like, Trump's not enough. We do need to stay critical of him and stay on him and like start looking for a neck person. And I think people with Trump will go crazy on both sides. The ones that just hate him and the ones that just love him. And it's like, he's a man who has his flaws and he has things like, I think he's hilarious. He has tons of positive qualities. There's a lot of things I like about him. I remember the first time he was running for election, it was just his stamina and how he just didn't give a fuck. They had a protest. They stopped his car in the Bay Area. They blocked the traffic. He jumped out of the car, hopped over the thing and started walking to get to his rally film. I'm like, what? And that's when I'm like, this guy is going to win. He was still a huge underdog. I'm like, this guy is insane. He is just on a mission. And he still has so much energy, doesn't look any older. So he has a lot of, like, I'm critical of him, but there's a lot of things that are great about him too.
Like, I don't, that's another thing. Like, how is this guy awake all the time? Like, it's like 3:00 in the morning. This guy's like fucking away, like going crazy. Like, I hardly sleep, but I guarantee you he sleeps a lot less than I do, and he's 80. He's about to be 80.
Yeah, he's not aging either. Presidents always, they show him before and after. He's not looking older. Like, it's his stamina. It's insane. So not respect that. I really hope he does great things in this next, like 4 years. So I think that he's definitely done a lot of good things. So
no, he did a good thing today. He booted that fucking.
That was awesome.
He booted that piece of shit out of the White House. So
yeah, I love that.
But thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed the show.
Yeah, are you in Miami? Because I got your number from out there. I'll hit you up something.
Yeah, I'm in Miami.
Hang out with the Proud Boys or something.
Fuck yeah. We'll go out and have some beers.
So yeah, sounds good. So it was great talking to you. Good conversation. I'll let this, I don't know exactly when I'll air, probably in the next like couple weeks. I'll act up, but cool, man. Thank you so much.
Give me the link, but thank you again. Thank you for having me on.